When there's an injustice against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down on them. They need you.
Welcome to Popcorn Planet's Pop Culture Justice and Diddy Gate coverage continues. It is me, Andy. I'm back. I'm in studio. Some of you are going to be so disappointed because they're like, no, I like him better. But my gosh, I have to first just give such a big grateful thank you to Kim, who stepped up while I was away, recharging myself with my family. And I'm back in studio. So happy to be back to bring back a crazy update. I got to be honest, so crazy. Not only is Kim here, look who's next to her, Christopher Melcher. Welcome back, Chris, as well. What a panel we have for you. Before I get to you, Chris, you were just saying it too. Actually, why don't you cue it up? How great has Kim's coverage been, Chris?
It's been absolutely incredible because, you know, as a legal commentator, I need to follow this story in an in-depth, accurate way. And obviously we don't have a camera in the courtroom. So Kim, like, thank you. I'm watching every day the update, and it is excellent. I don't know how you do it, but the information you provide is just enough detail, really concise, you know, and it's like letting me like draw my conclusions. And I find like you are my trusted news source. So thank you.
Thank you. Come on, everybody.
That's insane.
Kim
Thank
by
you.
subscribing to It's Kim and sending her some love and support. Kim, you really did crush it. I didn't get to catch everything because I was trying to actually be offline for once, but
that was the goal.
I did catch some of it. And you did a great job as well. And we have a lot to get into. So I'm going to let you do the recap today, but I do want to start by starting with the headline of today, which Chris is here because we may lose him. So apologies, Kim, if I take the reins for the beginning here.
Go ahead.
Chris, the big update is that the word on the street from Diddy's own attorney, he's not going to be using any witnesses. The defense is going to merely use a day and a half of some evidence that they're going to bring in, but they are not going to bring in a single witness. This seems strange to me. I want to go straight to you to get your legal thoughts. Do you think this is a good move? And do you, Kim can add to it after you give some comment, but do you think this is really going to happen?
Yeah, I generally think it's the right decision. And these are very difficult to do, particularly if you were the defendant here. But as attorneys on the defense, we have to recognize that we carry no burden. Okay, in the United States, the burden of proof is on the prosecutor to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant does not have to testify or do anything, doesn't have to explain anything. And so when you're in that position as a defense attorney and you think that they have not proven their case, you would be making a mistake by putting on any evidence, because a juror might say, oh, wow, now that I hear this new witness, or now that I hear this piece of evidence in this particular light, now maybe I do find that you're guilty. So you'd be taking enormous risk by putting on any evidence. Instead, just saying, hey, whatever you heard here, jury, that does not amount to a crime, or at least there's reasonable doubt whether a crime is committed, and do your thing. It's a kind of a power play. It does send a message to the jury. You know, some might look at it as weakness, like, oh, he won't even testify or he won't even do anything. So other people will look at it as a show of strength, saying, we don't even need to counteract this thing. There's nothing here. So I think that's the way they're going to play it. I would have liked to have seen a business manager, somebody who is in the actual Combs enterprise, meaning the record label, come in and say, this is how we make money. We do not make money on freak-offs. Whatever this guy was doing on his own personal time or whatever has nothing to do with the record label. I would have, and I understand there are certainly evidence of payments and use of company resources to fund this stuff. But for somebody to say, look, the core enterprise is this, it's not that, I would have liked to have heard that. But I guess, hey, they can argue that point and not put the person up.
Kim, I go to you because you've been following it even more recently than I. Like, does Christopher make a point there? Does this, when you have nothing to offer, no evidence and no case, is it almost smart of them to be like, you know what, we'll go in confident. We don't need any witnesses. They proved nothing. What are your thoughts?
I think when I looked into this a little bit, because I was trying to understand, I'm like, what is the upside to this? Why would anybody do this? And I think ultimately, as Christopher said, in part that it's like the burden is not on them. They don't have to prove anything. at this point. But what I do find to be very confusing about all of this is that there were a lot of witnesses that were brought forward as potentially being witnesses for the defense. We originally were told from Mark Agnifilo, I believe, like one of the lead attorneys, that they were expecting to have 2 weeks of witnesses and things that were going to be said. Then all of a sudden it dropped down to 5 days. Now, my assumption on that front was that if we go from 2 weeks to 5 days, that's 5 days loss of testimony. That would align probably with what it would be like if Diddy took the stand. So my hypothesis, off the record, personal opinion, was that they were thinking maybe Diddy would take the stand, and then they decided, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep him off. So all of a sudden that time gets, changed, and they go, you know what, Your Honor, we're only going to need a week. Then it was 2 days. Then it was a day and a half, which is where I start to question and ask myself, what exactly has changed behind the scenes? Because as much as I think it can be a sign from the defense of them saying, well, we don't believe that they've really proven their case, so we don't need to say anything. So we're just not going to. How did that change so dramatically? And is it possible that this is the defense crumbling?
Yeah, so those are all good points. Now, the jury will be instructed not to take any inferences or make any assumptions or think about why he didn't take the stand or call witnesses for whatever good that is. Now, what is really difficult is because earlier in the case, there has to be estimates given by both sides of how much time they're going to take. The judge is the manager of this trial and needs to know that. So it's hard in the early stages of a case for a defense attorney to say, yeah, there's nothing here. We're never calling a witness. Don't even reserve a day for us, judge. Moment the prosecutor rests, we just send it to the jury. That'd be pretty bold. So, they do need to kind of make their reservation of time and allocate that just in case. But, to the extent that a juror is violating their oath and actually looking at media coverage and seeing some of this stuff, statements that are made in the press, I think it is difficult, but I think they will explain that in closing argument in saying, look, we don't have to prove anything. We decided, we made an assessment after the close of the prosecutor's case not to waste your time. We're doing this for you. We don't think you need this. And so there'll be probably some explanation like that in closing.
Which I imagine is effective for the jury who's wanting to go home, probably fed up, disgusted with all the stuff they're watching. Do you think this will help or hurt him? Based on, you following Kim and the coverage here, do you think that the prosecution has laid out enough of a case?
Yeah, I think it was the right choice not to put on witnesses. I don't believe, look, I think that the RICO charge or the racketeering charge there may be enough evidence for it, but to me, it never made sense. And I think that there's jurors there that could say there's reasonable doubt. One, we don't understand why this is racketeering, or even if we get our head around it, we don't think there's enough evidence. So I could see him being acquitted, or at least there being a hung jury, meaning that all jurors don't agree to the racketeering charge. On the transportation and trafficking charges, there's certainly ample evidence to establish those charges. So I would imagine you'll get convicted on those two. And if I had to bet, which, I'm no good at, and I have no better ability to predict than anybody else, honestly. But I think that racketeering charge is pretty weak in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the best track record. You've admitted that. That's fair. But maybe you'll be wrong on this one. But you're saying he will get some time. You don't think he's going to be fully off. He's still going to be in jail based on some of those charges. But the racketeering and everything else, you worry he won't actually get.
Yeah, he's not going home at the end of the week or something. I'm not thinking that. I think he gets tagged on those other two charges, but the racketeering. And the reason why I say it, I know there's people probably already commenting, oh my God, look at all the elements. And yeah, you could string a racketeering case together. But what I'm just saying is this is an enterprise of one guy, one depraved guy. Everyone worked for him or was a girlfriend who was trying to appease him. He didn't have, this not like some crime family here. So again, I think it's an overcharge. And that's just the way I view it, but that's just one guy.
Well, to ask one more point of that before we get to your recap, Kim, they brought up Robin Greenhill and TriStar, which you and I have covered, Kim as well, the Britney stuff, and TriStar was part of the conservatorship. It's all weirdly coming to a head. They were caught sort of paying for things. We're going to talk about that today. Clearly part of the payroll. Is it odd to you that they didn't bring Robin or Lou Taylor or TriStar into this, or Christina Karam, the big business manager who's done all this? Why do you think some of these key players weren't brought in or at least charged? Do you think they could be charged later? What is your thought on all that?
Well, this is confounding. Again, if you look at any other racketeering case, there's 20 defendants. All the crime bosses, all the people, everyone gets charged. There's one guy that's charged here. The only guy that got arrested was Paul, the personal assistant, because he was in possession of some stuff. But he got arrested, but he's not sitting there as a defendant. And all these other people who were allegedly involved in this conspiracy and did all these horrible things, why aren't they being charged? If I was on the jury, I would be very troubled by that. So
why do you think they aren't? What do you think the reasoning is? Why wouldn't Christina Karam be a witness?
Yeah, it's weird because other witnesses were forced to testify under a grant of limited use immunity, basically saying, hey, you have a right to remain silent, but we're going to force you to testify under the promise that nothing you say here in this court can be used against you. And you figured they could have done these with other people. I don't know why KK wasn't brought in. Maybe they felt that there was something there that she would maybe advocate for him or get some helpful evidence, because you could see with pretty much every prosecution witness, the defense was able to score a point with. There's always some text message or some statement or admission that they can get out of them. And maybe KK, the prosecutor, figured like, hey, there's some stuff here where she's going to advocate and do something on the stand that's not worth it. And we can prove these points without her. That's my guess. But yeah, I am very troubled by a racketeering charge case with one defendant.
Well, and then it's even more weird that why wouldn't they have brought KK then up on the defense's side? If that's the argument, right? Then you'd think Diddy would bring her up to try to validate some of these things to be on his side. No?
Well, but they got to then, because there's KK stuff in there where KK is going to have to say, yeah, there are some situations where company resources were used to fund the freak-offs. And so I think she would have to admit to that, but then there would be some good stuff. So it would kind of be good and bad. We saw a couple places where the defense was saying, look, there are some charges here that were called for and said, charge it to Sean. And the implication is charge it to him personally, meaning not a company expense. If they brought KK in there, she might have said, yeah, well, that actually wound up being paid for by the business. We don't know.
That's crazy. And it's wild to me. They wouldn't have brought her in. They got to at least interview her, right? The feds got to bring KK in and deem whether she's going to be a good witness, right? Through a deposition of some kind.
There's no right to a deposition in a criminal case. They cannot compel a statement. And I would imagine that she would have just said, I'm not making any statements. And so they're left then without necessarily knowing exactly what she would say, other than the emails and text message communications, which obviously they got everything. So whatever was said in writing there on these messages, they have those and could figure out with the other witnesses, like, yeah, we'll take the good and bad, but overall it's good. With KK, they must have just made the assessment that she would do more harm to the prosecution than good. And then the same thing for the defense, more harm to the defense than good. So that's why nobody's calling her.
Absolutely. Well, Kim, what are your thoughts on that? Any questions for Chris before we get into the recap?
I think the thing is, like, I look a lot right now. I'm really looking at the R. Kelly case because I'm not as up to date on all of the information on it, but I do see similarities between the two cases. And R. Kelly was found guilty of racketeering, if I do remember this correctly. And there were a lot of other charges, and his case was different in the sense that there were people who were not of age involved. And in this specific case, one of the things I keep seeing people asking when it comes to Diddy is, why aren't there more celebrities in the case? Why are we not talking about the potential people who are not of age being put in this case? It's like, well, because that didn't have anything to do with the charges that the feds brought up against him, right? Like, people that are asking, like, for example, where is Oprah? Oprah was not named in the indictment. She's not, like, there's no reason for her to be called at this stage, and there was no victim alleged in the federal indictment that was of a younger age. I think with Christina Karam, I honestly wonder, is it one of these things that she will be prosecuted separately and they don't want to give her immunity? Because if the prosecution was to call her, she likely would plead the fifth. And then if they wanted her to talk, they'd have to give her immunity. And they're not going to do that because they have enough on her to say, no, you are a co-conspirator. And apparently she has been referenced as a co-conspirator in the courtroom. So if we have a racket, she is definitely, up there in this organization in the way that this was carried out. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I wonder if it was kind of one of those situations. Maybe KK was on, potentially going to be brought as a witness. And then they've decided no, because it would just hurt her case more, for example. Heaven knows what's going on in the background. Wish I knew, but that's kind of where I've ended up sitting. But I do think when it comes to the racketeering charge, I think bribery has been shown twice alone. You have the signed NDA on company letterhead, right? On Combs Enterprises bad boy letterhead to do with the tape. And then you have the security guard, the hero security guard, as we call him. He was offered the bribe and he said no. And that's on the record as well. So there's two, attempted and completed. My understanding is you don't need to prove everything to prove a racket, right?
Plus, they paid off Cassie's family, right? They proved that payment as well.
Extortion, yes.
They did prove the bribery pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I guess, look, we're not saying he's getting off. He's definitely, there are charges here, Chris, you feel confident he's going to have to pay for.
Oh, yeah. No, Kim, all those points that you're making, Kim, are absolutely right about KK. And like I said from the beginning, there is enough evidence in my mind to establish the racketeering charge. One of the connection that I found most significant was the payment that Cassie's mom made a payment to, Diddy, I guess the enterprises, and eventually it was refunded. But that was made to, kind of protect, I guess, the release of tapes involving Cassie. And that was the one kind of incoming money. Okay. So all the other stuff was like, Sean's paying the employees, Sean's paying these male guys. Everything he's paying for people, but here's one instance where he received money as part of this enterprise. And I thought that was significant. So I certainly, they can have a racketeering charge with one defendant. And they have enough evidence here. The kidnapping, the bribery, extortion, the arson one is by implication. They don't have direct evidence. But there's enough technically there. I'm just saying, as a juror, I would have a hard time processing or understanding it. The trafficking and the other one, much easier. The transportation, much easier. So in terms of why didn't we hear about celebs and stuff, the thing is, to me, like, I got to imagine that Sean was more susceptible to being shaken down by having evidence of him participating in these freak-offs than anyone else. I mean, he had, if to the extent that this got out and there were the videos leaked of him participating in these things, it would be absolutely devastating to his reputation. So how many people would he really invite to participate in these things? And that was, a question in my mind, because we see that he's doing this all the time. I wasn't clear on how many times his face was visible. Like, did these male guys always know that it was him, or was he obscured? Because he's now putting himself out there to be shaken down by all these guys.
And it sounds like some of them did try, right?
His head was bobbing to some of the freak-off tapes, Kim. That's what happened today?
Yeah. It was
like enjoying watching the freak-off tapes. It's weird, man.
Apparently. I can't, guys. This is never a dull moment in this trial. Even when it's dull, there's moments.
Well, one more question before I let you go, Kristen. I know you got the on the other side of that coin, there was leaked audio, right? Tape of Cassie that recently came out as well, where she's talking about, someone had a tape and she's saying on the tape, me and Diddy are going to K you. We're going to unalive you. It's not good sounding. Like, I understand where it's coming from. Like, I don't want that out in the world. Like, give me that. I'm defending myself. But if those clips surface and are played to the jury of her aggressively defending and doing it with Diddy and I are going to unalive you, Is that going to help, you think, her case?
Well, I think this is where some of the reasonable doubt is going to come in, because with Cassie and Jane, there was certainly evidence of them, and I think both of them admitted there were times when they were okay in participating in some of these things. Now, it was some kind of sick expression of love where they felt like they wanted to make him happy, and this is what made him happy. So they were trying to, facilitate this, which is hard to understand. But I also know when you're in a relationship, sometimes you lose your boundaries and do some weird stuff. But, some jurors might just say, look, that they're bothered by that. Some jurors might say they're bothered by the amount of money that Cassie got in settlement from Diddy, and then I guess the hotel after that. So these are all seeds of reasonable doubt. And to get a hung jury, you just need one juror in there that says, yeah, I'm just not buying this. And then that doesn't mean acquittal. He's subject to being retried. And the prosecutor oftentimes would say, okay, I'm going to retry and start the whole thing over again with a new jury. So these are risks. And I think that's why they're just saying, like, hey, we have no evidence to really put on at this point. We're just going to let it go to the jury.
Well, we hope to have you back as they do their closings and the verdict comes in. Please keep us posted on your updates and thoughts. Always a pleasure to have you here, sir. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much.
See you soon, Chris. Thank you as always. All right. Well, guys, the show's not over. We got Kim here to break down what happened today on day 28, Kim. A lot to break down. So let's get into it. It's a long show, but I think a worthy show because we got a lot to go through. But Kim, break us down. I guess let me start before, because I'm trying to catch up, and then you're going to give me the special agent. But before the testimony, they mapped out the week ahead and said she expects the testimony of Joseph to conclude Tuesday. Defense is expected to rest end of Tuesday, as we were just talking about. They'll and then some exhibits. There will be no defense witnesses, Diddy's lawyer said. Attorney intend to meet for a charge conference Wednesday, and closing arguments would be as soon as Thursday, guys. Diddy's mom was present. Yeah. Justin was also seen, but we could, in theory, have this case over. I don't think it's going to be Friday, but by early next week, we might actually be done, Kim. Are you a little relieved? You must be. Thank God this is almost over.
I am tired. I'm not going to lie. I've been feeling it. It's been a hard case to take in every day. Like, it was kind of funny. My parents went away for a week, and they came back and they asked me, they're like, what happened this week? And I was just going over some things and explaining it in summary. And I'm realizing how messed up so many of the things that I'm telling them are. And they're just like horrified. And I feel like when you're hearing this all day and you're taking it in, it's like you almost become a bit desensitized to it. But some of it is just so messed up and so twisted. And I am looking forward to not having to take this in, for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I hope that makes sense. I'm very thankful to be doing it. I love doing this. And I'm so thankful that, you've trusted me to continue doing these recaps and you guys are enjoying them. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And today was no different. A lot.
And we are grateful. And you've been killing it. So let's get into it, though. So next up, who was this? Joseph Cercillo?
Yes, so he is a Homeland Security investigation special agent. He was actually brought up last week. He was one of the last witness. He is the last witness, I believe, for the prosecution to call up. He is a summary witness. So his job is to go, hey, the prosecution has given me all of this information, all of these pieces of evidence, all of these charts, etc., and we are going to go through them all. And basically, it's like a wonderful marriage of, that text message you heard earlier? Well, this is the context in which this happened. Here are the financial records in which that go with it. Here are the videos that prove that everybody was there. Here, everything within context coming together just to kind of hammer home their case of these are all the times that these things happened. This is why we are saying that it is a RICO. This is why we are saying that there was T. This is why we're saying that there has been transportation of adult workers, etc.
And that the texts are proving that Chief of Staff KK was planning his stays.
And that all of the other employees were also aware of what was going on and were being used for these events. So that's kind of the idea, but it means that there's a lot of, here is a text message, here is a financial document. We're going to watch a bit of the freak off video now, only the jury, not anybody else. And now we're going to go on to the next one. Here's another financial record. Here's a flight record. Here's a this. Here's a credit card. And it gets a bit repetitive. But there's definitely some very interesting things that are shared through these. So that's what a lot of these notes are. And I think it is important to, go in order because they do kind of build this, they paint this picture for the jury. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of it, in my opinion.
So yeah, so there, as we just showed, there was a text or the stay at the Vegas hotel, hotel night, texting she had a room at the Waldorf Astoria. That's a fancy one. But plan B is his nightstand, jeweler selling Van Cleef. But yeah, tell us about the jurors wearing that. So they're wearing these headsets and just constantly wearing these freak off videos. Talk about getting desensitized. I can't imagine this has been fun for them.
Yeah. So it's essentially the jurors are having to wear headsets and they're looking at screens that are in front of them. And it's kind of hard. It's like even the press is going, we're assuming right now they're watching an FO video because we can't see it. We're assuming that that's what's happening. We're assuming that so-and-so and so-and-so are in the video. That's the best that we can do at this point. So, for example, this first one, we knew that Jane was in it. We knew Cabral was in it. And these videos, we were told by the expert, they're actually collectively several hours long. And Diddy is in them. The public and press cannot see or hear the videos. And what they're doing is they're taking clips to establish that, yes, these people were here. These people were here, confirmed in 4K. There we go.
Ugh,
but it means that the jury has to sit
this
and watch FO video after FO video to prove different dates, locations, and people. So, for example, the federal agent said that they discovered 50 explicit video files in Diddy's possession that were created from December 17th to December 21st of 2021. So again, they have to establish each day, the people, the location, boom, 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 boom. And that's why they're having to watch so many clips.
These ads are hiding it, but so explicit they'll never be released to the public.
No. I'm kind of thankful for that. Based on what we've heard, I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
But then this big moment was, so they're playing these clips. Diddy's looking around the room. The monitor apparently, I've seen mixed reporting on this. But it looks like the monitors were turned off at Diddy's defense table. He could have headphones, but they didn't have the video screen. That's to make sure that people in the gallery can't see any of the videos. They're trying to protect the public and the press from seeing them. So he is apparently cranking his head, trying to see the footage on another screen. And then he has his headphones on, and he appears to be bobbing, according to the Daily Mail, to the music in the FO video.
He's enjoying this way too much.
At the same time, defense attorney Nicole Westmoreland and Diddy's mom are focusing on the jury. We were hearing things that some of the jurors were just closing their eyes, being like, oh my gosh, like, no. I can only imagine. And Diddy then started taking notes. He's wearing his headphones. He's bobbing his head. The jury watched at least 13 clips of explicit videos and that were recorded from November of 2021, December of 2021, February of 2022, August of 2022, and October of 2022. And together that was about 12 minutes of footage. Yeah, so it's like the jurors were paying attention, but there were moments two jurors closed their eyes. At this point in the trial, the jurors have watched at least 40 minutes of explicit video.
They've seen way too much of his Tootsie Roll, is what that means.
Yeah.
Tootsie Rolls in the chat. Just discussed Kim. They then discussed flight records. According to Jane's travel history, these records show that Diddy paid for Jane and others to travel and participate. Ricola, LA, Miami. I mean, it's good evidence, no? They were also shown flight hotel records for, I like Cabral. What a name.
Yeah.
Adult worker, Cabral.
But the thing for me about the RICO piece of this that I feel like everybody goes, yeah, but Jane wanted it. It doesn't matter. If she was transported across state lines and was paid for her services, that's illegal. It doesn't matter. And that's what, like, one of the things I said to everybody when we did the recap for Jane was I felt like there was a lot of Jane's testimony. It wasn't about whether or not she wanted it or she didn't. It was about the picture she painted of how she was present for all of these other illegal acts to happen, whether it was substances, bribery, transportation, blah, blah, blah. It was all there. And she was present for all of it, and she testified to it.
It's
that's just my opinion.
All on Diddy's American Express card. All these Trump International, New York in September 2023, Atlanta to Newark flight, all on there. And then Robin Greenhill, ding ding, Robin Greenhill enters the chat from TriStar for those longtime viewers from that surprise witness, BJ's. You guys know TriStar.
Justice for Brittany.
We have gone after TriStar. Not many have the guts to. What BJ sure does, and we will. TriStar Entertainment was part of the conservatorship, in my opinion. Lou Taylor, Lucifer, as we call her. No surprise that they're stuck up with Diddy as well, Kim. But here they are mentioned again. Jane reportedly paid for Cabral's travel, was then wired $5,000 at the direction of Robin Greenhill. Travel arrangements were booked by Diddy's travel management. Ooh, I can't imagine they're enjoying this. What do you think, Kim? Think TriStar is excited about these references?
I don't think they are, but I think this is also where people kind of get a little hung up on some of the details here. They'll go, yeah, well, Jane paid for it, though, so technically Diddy didn't do it. It's like, Jane didn't have the money for this, guys. She was constantly like, I need money. And then conveniently, Robin Greenhill wires her $5,000. Why would Robin do that? At whose direction? And what exactly does Robin Greenhill do? She's an accountant for Combs and for Bad Boy Entertainment. I feel like people are reaching when they're trying to say that, like, well, that doesn't prove it. It doesn't prove it. It's convenient. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Text then came in between Diddy and Jane, where Diddy tried to get Jane travel for a freak off in 2020. That's the thing. They're not like visiting, like, hey, let's go hang out. Let's go watch a movie. I want to see you and we're going to go get dinner. Literally, they're being flown out for freak offs.
To do this.
They're being flown out for X parties. There's no debate. And you could argue, oh yeah, having a friend fly out, whatever. Who knows? Whatever happens. I could see that maybe in how these escorts and things could work, but they're literally paying them for freak offs. We've now established what a freak off is. There's no, there's no semantics here to get out of it. They're paying to fly these performers out. And the women have now made it very clear. Remember, what was his name? Oh, don't do it in front of was it Brad?
How could you make me look like that in front of Paul?
Paul, that was Paul. I got that soundbite. I lost it because I had to go up, but we have the soundbite. Thank you, whoever sent it. I got to refind it. How could you do that to me in front of Paul?
In front of Paul.
They flew Paul out just to have relations with these women. So there's no disputing it. So
yeah.
More text. So Diddy hung his head several minutes. Diddy dressed in he had a white party. He was in a white sweater today, Kim. He was reading something in his lap. Ooh, I don't want to know what's going on in his lap. Diddy was such a frequent user of the male worker agency that the music mogul argued that he deserved cut rates. I need a discount. I'm using Paul so much. Why does Paul keep trying to charge me?
The thing I never expected to say today is that Diddy has been revealed. Diddy is a Karen. Everyone, Diddy would like to speak with your manager because he feels that he is paying too much for your services, and he is a loyal customer, and this isn't how you treat loyal customers. So literally, in a chat with the Cowboys for Angel representative named Bridget on September 26th of 2023, Diddy wrote, "Stop raising my rate. I am a long timer."
Oh my God. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's just so disturbing.
It's kind of funny.
Where's my frequent agency card? Come on.
Does he get points? Is there a rewards points program? So the agent said it wasn't up to the company, but to the worker himself, Cody in this case, who told Diddy the best guys have high rates. Bridget added that she was contractually obligated to the rates on the website. Diddy said it was okay, and then asked Cody to come to the Trump International Hotel and Tower in New York for 1 a.m. And then following a short break, there was another message exchange between Diddy and the representative for Cowboys for Angels. So he messaged them back. Representative told them that there had been a mistake with the payment, and they were short by $600. And Diddy says, lol, he couldn't even perform. The representative reminded the rapper that customers pay for time and companionship. Diddy asked her to talk nice to him, saying that he always talked nicely himself. You're being rude. Be nice to me.
I can't believe Diddy's carrying out.
As he told her he was a longtime customer as he did in the messages heard earlier.
Cost is the same whether you're skydiving or dancing. You pay for his time. Bravo to that Cowboys for Angels rep, because moron, you're not paying for sex. We can't admit that in text.
No,
that's not what you're paying for.
That's not what you're paying
bozo.
for.
Like, this guy is so dumb.
So the representative says, I apologize if my tone came across as anything but respectful, not trying to be smart with you. And then he says back, it's all good, all love. Sorry for any stress.
Yeah, Diddy, you don't want to lose this contact because then your freak-offs are done. Diddy's caring out, about to lose his contact to get all these Pauls.
So if there's any question about whether or not Diddy paid for this, yes, he did. If there's any question about whether or not this was a business arrangement to have people come out, it was. You can't do the whole, we were just friends and hanging out. Nah, he yelled at Bridget because he wanted a cheaper rate.
Why don't I get a cheaper rate? I've been screwing Paul for months. Come on, Paul. Why am I paying you at all? Aren't you in love with me yet? Yikes. So then, speaking of Pauls, they saw text message with Brandon Paul, former assistant, coordinating an IV drip for 3 people. September 2023 chat that included a couple of members of
If I can interrupt you quickly, Andy.
Yeah.
I want to clarify because there are people that were asking. Brandon Paul and Paul are not the same person. Okay? Brandon Paul has been called enough things at this point. He is not Paul. Just let me make that clear.
This is the separate Paul. Brandon. We'll call him Brendan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's there doing IV drips. And an assistant named Ashley reminded everyone to make sure that sodium chloride, vitamin B12, B complex, zinc, amino acids, calcium, Benadryl were all ready for their IV use. Because you got to keep them all energized, Kim, for more of those freak-offs.
Mm-hmm.
More text messages, Diddy and his former chief, KK. Another one. I don't know if those are playing. Got to get those back in.
Yeah, I heard it. I don't know.
But yeah, days later, September, KK.
Another one.
Told him to keep someone named Chelsea at Miami hotel and get a hotel suite at a different hotel for him and Jane. He told KK.
Another one.
That Chelsea would be moved from hotel. So again, moving from, this is crazy, to a Miami residence after Jane left. The chart also included a flight record booked by Diddy's travel manager for Jane from Miami to Los Angeles. So state lines, Kim. Again, Ricola.
Done. Yep.
So you made a note here. There's a lawsuit filed against Diddy of a woman named Chelsea.
Yes, there's a lawsuit that has been filed against Diddy from a woman named Chelsea Lovelace. She claims that she was pushed to take part in FOs before he allegedly gave her substances against her will at his Miami mansion in July of 2024. It is unclear if this is the same woman, but I was seeing a lot of people bring this up that potentially this could be. It could be. I can't confirm or deny it, but just wanted to bring that information in.
And then throughout the section of testimony, it appears that the prosecution is moving quickly, establishing treat timelines and going over specific events corroborated with communication in the form of texts, voice memos. There's a text conversation about Diddy suddenly leaving town and KK.
Another one.
Telling him not to lie. Text from Fahim saying he was taking $5,000 to Diddy now. Yikes. Communication between Diddy and KK continues. At one point, a voice memo plays of Diddy saying, hey, KK.
Another one.
We need more baby oil. 20 bottles in this mother effer. What a job KK has, huh? She must be so happy with her lot in life. Another voice memo played to his travel arranger, Jessica Ruiz. Hey, Jess, I need to get him from Atlanta to here. Let me know. Hit him up. At this point, worker Cabral sent his date of birth to Diddy, who then forwarded to Ruiz. At this point, Ruiz booked travel. Imagine being someone actually professional who was working with Diddy at the time, who had some relations, didn't know the extent, and now is learning that this is what he's been doing his whole behind the scenes. I don't know how anyone can ever take this man seriously again. This is so gross. Another voice memo was played Diddy again, and the voice memo was sent to KK informing her that he is out of baby oil. I can't believe I'm out, he says. KK assured her boss that a fresh delivery would be left outside his door shortly. Like, what? This man is a disgusting criminal and also a complete joke. This is your priority in life? I'm out of baby oil. How do you get out of baby oil, Kim? How is this guy using so much baby oil?
I don't want to know. But I think to me, part of what bothers me now is that people are like, well, this is personal. And it's like, I'm sorry. Do you think that KK would be doing this for this man if she didn't work for him? Like, honestly,
There it is. I got it. I found it. It's coming. I'm putting it in this show.
Thank you.
Keep going, Kim, while I get this.
Okay. It's going to be
Call
hard.
clip is coming.
In another voice memo, he asks for a certain medication to help men with their performance. I'm going to keep calling y'all if you don't make sure I have everything I need. And another audio message, Diddy asked KK for 5 more bottles of everything so I don't have to call anybody. And yet another voice memo was a request for vegetable soup. Now, the special agent then reviewed documents around November 8th to 10th of 2021, and Diddy texted Jane asking if she wanted to see him and Paul. Diddy later messaged Paul, perfect timing, telling him to let him know when he was close. In that time frame, Jane was also texting Sly about traveling to Los Angeles from Atlanta. Diddy was messaging his travel manager about booking a flight for Sly and Jane, and then relaying the information to Sly, according to documents. Several explicit videos were taken during those days. Also around that time, Jane sent Sly a Cash App payment with a large amount of cash, which was deposited into one of, and then another amount of cash that was deposited into one of Paul's accounts, according to records. Is it working?
Jury saw more messages from about KK being booked. I mean, this is RICO law.
Yeah.
It's a lot of RICO law.
Yeah, lots of that. So she booked a hotel room in Los Angeles for Diddy and Jane. KK texted him when an assistant was there setting up the room. Again, more assistants being aware that this is going on. Later in the day, KK texted Diddy, hotel called, Paul coming up. Diddy then
Paul's
sent Jane
up.
and
that's
Paul.
That's our Paul. Okay, good.
Yes, that's Paul.
How can you make me look like that in front of Paul?
There it is. Did you guys hear it? Did it work?
I hope you guys heard
How
it.
can you
It's
make
so-
me look
it's-
like that
that's-
in front of Paul?
There we go.
That is the
I
bit of
got the
dark
Paul
humor from
soundbite
this
in.
trial that I will always remember. That just hit me the right way.
Did you hear the Paul soundbite? There we go. We finally got the Paul soundbite in.
Yes, but low, people are saying.
I know. I'm trying.
So-
it wasn't very loud. I boosted
okay.
as much as I can.
Diddy then sent Jane an audio message saying, hey, let me know if I should book for debauchery for 9 o'clock, yes or no answer. Jane texted back, according to records, yeah, it's a thumbs up. Then she asked him for money to buy new clothes. Later, Diddy sent another audio message saying, sent you 15 grand, baby girl, according to records. Jury then saw flight records for 3 entertainers. Diddy scheduled one of the entertainers through Cowboys for Angels, according to records. Jane paid Cowboys for Angels $1,100 on Cash App and texted Diddy, send this as proof of payment. So, yeah, and this is what I mean. There was a lot today of, was it a bit dry? Yeah, but it's just receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt. And I think it's a very powerful thing and something that they really did need to do.
Yeah, I mean,
The jury then
because we do to try to get through it because we were here so late. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of text. Kim, you can see it here on screen. She texted Diddy, I'm not an adult star. I'm not an animal. I don't want to do this. Diddy reported, text her back, let me make love to you. Jane responded, spend the day with Gina. Oof.
Yeah.
Jury then saw messages indicate Jane went to Diddy's LA home the next day. In a later conversation, KK messaged Brandon Paul, different Paul, and other assistants prepping hotel room, according to messages seen by the jury. Jane messaged Diddy asking if he could put something in her account, saying she felt violated and manipulated. Yikes. So then the cross-exam happened. Anything, I mean, I'm reading this. Teeny took the lead. Agent confirmed many incidents, the summary chart when Diddy began paying for rent. Confirmed that there could have been times that Jane and Diddy saw each other that were not included in the summary chart. Garagos went through September 2023 invoice from Diddy's travel management that listed expenses, flights for Jane and the entertainer Sly to New York. The invoice says various expenses for Sean. Garagos highlighted that the invoice lists Combs personally, not his business entity. As Chris said, right? These are instances where they're going, well, did he pay for it personally, not through the business? Defense then brought up another text. Jane told the music mogul that she couldn't wait to hook up with my favorite person. Diddy then asked Jane for specifics of what she wanted to do with him. He asked her to be explicit. She responded in graphic detail. It appears the defense hopes to show that Diddy's girlfriends were willing partners. Absolutely, that's what they're going to be doing, guys. That's what this whole thing is. We're not even having witnesses. They said it themselves. They wanted to be there. So you can call them gross. You can not like it, but they were all willing parties. Another text,
At
Jane sent
points.
explicit messages to the entertainer called Sly, told him she wanted to see him. Garagos said the jury had to watch an explicit video from November of 2021. Jury then watched several other clips, totaling more than 5 minutes. Jane reached out to worker Cabral in December of 2021, appeared to initiate a freak-off. According to the text message chain before, however, Jane asked the worker to take a PCR test, harkening back to an era when America was still fighting the control of the Rona. So yeah, that's clearly where they're going to go with this. After the jury, they had an hour and 50. We talked about this. They're going to be potentially done by Thursday. Court was then adjourned. There's some more stuff we'll go through in our thing, but I wanted any final things to add before this recap is over, Kim? Any final thoughts?
I think it's going to be interesting to see over the next few days the way that this goes. I have difficulty believing that what the defense is saying their plan is, it's what's actually going to happen. I feel like over and over, the defense has told us one thing, and then they've done something entirely different, even down to the timeline of what they said their case is going to be. We've gone from 2 weeks to a day and a half. And I honestly wonder what will happen tonight when they go home. What will happen when they go to sleep and they wake up in the morning and go, oh, we're going to try to do something different, and we'll see. But it does sound like they are actively planning on closing arguments to be taking place on Thursday. It looks like it's going to be 4 hours each. So the judge has said they will stay late if needed to complete these closing statements together. And then the jury will be given instruction. No, Thursday.
Oh, sorry, Thursday.
Yes. Yeah. So Tuesday is the beginning of their day and a half. And then there also will be a break for Rule 28, I believe, which is basically the defense gets to ask the judge to dismiss the whole darn thing because they don't feel like it's been proven. It's very, to my understanding, it's pretty, Rule 29,
standard,
I'm sorry.
Standard,
it seems
it'll get
pretty
thrown away,
standard.
whatever,
but I have the feeling the judge is going to go, no. We're doing this. We're doing this. Closing arguments are happening. Okay, thank you. Present your evidence. And then their evidence will be presented. Heaven knows how long that will take. And then we'll be into closing.
What a show. My thanks again to It's Kim, who's been crushing it in my absence. Kim, I love you. And thank you so much for all the hard work you've been doing. My wife and whole family are so grateful to you because we got to have that break. So thank you so much for helping us. You've been doing such an amazing job. Make sure you go to her Linktree, her YouTube channel, and subscribe. And make sure you subscribe here as well. Make sure you hit that button, the bell for all alerts. Smash that thumbs up as well, and leave your comments down below. But you want to hit that notification because we're going to be live at the end of every day, and who knows what's happening to this trial. If something's going to go crazy happen still, they're claiming no witnesses. We will keep you posted. We'll be here every day this week, keeping you updated. So make sure you get those notifications on. Go double check them. Make sure you're still subscribed, and make sure you do it for It's Kim as well over on YouTube. One word, because yes, she'll be finally, hopefully, going live herself this week as well. So stay tuned. So much is coming. We appreciate you guys so much. A lot more is coming here on Popcorn Planet.